Okay. Let's make sure everything gets warmed up here. Okay. Just shared links and stuff in all the places, just to make sure the word gets out. Not that it makes a difference, but it is what it is. I'm just seeing if my analytics do anything. It's showing that nobody's watching. And that's kind of sad. Okay, so what I'm going to try to do today is try to model the Temporal Forge. And I went around and around and around with this idea in my head just to try to get a grasp of what it might even look like. Okay, so I did a bunch of searching for various different machinery, and this is a very sort of different concept, like a very different concept, but it's kind of the what's the word? It's like the pinnacle, the reason for going into MV tier. Okay. So like you could bask in the LV tier and you have all the machines. And MV tier is, yes, it has oil processing and extreme amounts of power capabilities. Okay. So lots and lots of power opportunities with the oil processing. And I'm very, very proud of getting that system up and running and working. But sort of the pinnacle is two different machines. Well, I'm on the fence. One machine in particular, the Temporal Forge. The Temporal Forge is where you get temporal steel, and what drives that. And the other one, I'm not sure which tier to give it. It's the arc smelter, right? The big arc smelter. My initial thoughts were putting that into HV tier, which is the next tier up. HV tier would be the logical next step. But there's, I'm really fuzzy on the power, like what the process is going to be for that. So it's like I would really like to investigate that a little bit more. Obviously, I want it to have a nuclear sort of thing. And I don't know whether to simplify the process and make it gamified, or to go like the mechanism route, which is a lot of things are going to be required, right? There's going to be a lot of infrastructure to build in order to make that work, right? I've done this concept once before, believe it or not, with Fortresscraft Evolved. I built a nuclear reactor mod for Fortresscraft Evolved. Uranium was already in the game, so I was like, well, it's already there. Might as well use it. So I built an entire processing system. It's very simplified. right? You mine the ore, you process it in a small machine to get yellow cake. You put that yellow cake into centrifuges. That gets you the pellets, and then the pellets go into fuel rod, right? That's a very simple, literally 2 machines, or 3 if you count the fuel rod crafter. So that was 3 machines to make a fuel, an object for fuel. But it was fairly simple. And so that's one way of doing it, right? Gamified it's straightforward, it's easy to understand, and it's easy. The other way of doing it is like the mechanism route, which is further down the line of realistic, but much more nitty-gritty in detail, and requiring many more machines. Many more machines. So if you think about the mechanism route, and you think about all of the processes to get to that point, they're all very, very specific, because it's basically all gas based, right? Centrifuges, stuff like that, they're all gas. It's gas centrifuges. And so mechanism is modeled more closely around real world processes. Not exactly, obviously. It'd be funny if mechanism released the secrets of enriching uranium. That'd be funny. But yeah, so I don't know what people want to lean towards in an HV tier. But the arc smelter is one of those crazy high level machines that's going to be capable of spitting out unbelievable amounts of resources, right? It's going to be able to process really fast in bulk. And I'm thinking about giving it having it work like the Fortress Craft blast furnace, right? The way that ingots and metal is processed in the expansion of the Frozen Factory expansion for Fortress Craft, you have the big blast furnaces, and then you have the continuing casting basin that just constantly is pushing out material, right? So that's separating the thing into 2 different machines, which is much more manageable in terms of logic. One would be centered on melting down the material, and basically producing a molten version of every type of metal in the game, right? It's a fairly straightforward thing to do, actually. You just create a fluid that has all these different variants of all of the different metals, and then mods that add metals the proper way would be included in that, because they would just add the variants to that list, and you just here are the lists, right? Here's it is. Anyway, that's my thought on the HV side of things. So MV, right? What is left in MV? Well, this Temporal Forge, and here's the concept for it, by the way. And yes, it is from what you think it's from. I don't have artists. I don't have money. I don't have a budget. I don't have anything like that I could pay an artist to do a concept for me, right? If I add $3,000 a month in Patreon, I would do that in a heartbeat. I would pay an artist to do concept art for me. I would love to do that. I would love to build a business around this. But I don't have $3,000 a month in Patreon. I have maybe $130 a month. So, anyway, so yeah, I had an AI spit out. I was just like, hey, I need a Temporal Forge idea, and just to at least get the creative juices flowing in my brain. But there's a lot of custom stuff in here that, obviously I'm not going to do. So I was thinking of I like the idea of like a central chamber to transmogrify the temporal energies into sort of a something. I don't know. Like it's one of those like we're gonna go into the realm of sci-fi here, and we're gonna get into some of the nitty-gritty stuff. So what I'm thinking here is this is a very like this is the front, this is the rear, blah blah blah, and I want to move away from that. I want a machine that you can look at from all sides and see what's going on inside, right? So this is obviously going to be a multi-block, and it's going to be a fairly complex thing. It's going to be a fairly complex thing because the inside of the chamber, I'm going to have hopefully some animations and some effects that only appear when the machine is operating, and the machine is only going to operate during a temporal storm. Okay, so the machine will be idle, right? It's going to have a huge power bank. It's going to have a massive amount of power drain, right? But when a temporal storm is active, okay, the machine basically starts pulling that temporal energy from the storm and concentrating it and then infusing that temporal, juice into material. So you'll be able to craft temporal steel finally. This is what's crafting the temporal steel. You'll be able to craft the temporal gears, right? You'll feed it rusty gears. Or we could make, instead of rusty gears, we could make like good gears. Here's a steel gear, right? And feed it into there, and out pops a temporal gear. So what I want to do is take some of the generic ideas from this. This allowed my brain to sort of conceptualize something, whereas before I had it was a blank slate. Like I just didn't know even where to start. So this allows a little bit of creativity and just kind of, gets my creative mojo working. So I'm going to put that to the side because I know people have a distaste for that. So it is what it is. I would love if, somebody wants to help and be an artist and say, hey, here's some concept art, and actually works with me on stuff. See, the problem with the modding community is it's not a problem. It's not a problem. It's just the thing with the modding community is everybody has their own thing, right? Everybody has their own ideas. Everybody has their own wishes and desires and drives for whatever projects they're passionate about. It is incredibly hard to get somebody else to volunteer their time for free to work on an idea that is fundamentally yours, right? Collaboration in the modding community is incredibly rare, right? And it only happens on very large projects, where a lot of people sort of have their own flavor into a project, right? But that can also lead to, problems, calamities, if you will. And so to really have a singular vision where multiple people are driving towards a singular vision, that's what game studios are. You pay somebody and they will share your vision. if you're expecting them to if you're expecting people to volunteer, what I have found is it's incredibly difficult to get somebody to say, "Hey, I will spend my time. What do you need from me?" It's a very, very rare thing. So usually, little bits and pieces of the mod have been augmented by other people, but there's no team, right? There's no team that I can drive and say, "Hey, this is the next goal. Let's get an artist to do a concept, get somebody to whip up some textures, get somebody to model the thing and put it all together, and I can help on code, and I can get another programmer to like streamline some, put some efficiency." Like, I wish that I could do that. I wish that I could sort of lead a team and drive this mod into the realm of like excellence. But people who are in that position to do that would expect, payment. And I don't have any money. So anyway, here we go. We are going to start. So we want a nice base for this thing. So let's actually get started. So what size? I'm thinking a 5x5 base. So we're going to do 16 by 16 by 16. And I usually start off with my block reference. Oh, this is Vintage Story. I'm wondering why the hell programming vintage engineering mod assets vintage textures block. There we go. Reference. Copy, paste. There's my reference block. Okay. So, if we want this to be a 5x5x5, that means I need this to be back. If we go minus 32 and minus 32, that is the upper corner. So I need to go 48 and 48 just to get it out of the way. Okay. So we're going to do this. Face clear. This is going to be ref. Okay. So this is the gist of how I do models for the game. We're going to go 16 here, 16 there, and maybe 5. I don't know. 5 is going to be thick enough. Might be thick enough. And we're going to do minus 32, minus 32. So what I do when I build these multi-blocks is I build them out of puzzle pieces. Individual blocks that usually don't exceed the size of a block. There are exceptions. If something is a really simple device. But the way that I do this, the reason is textures. I can put a texture on this and not have any of its pixels stretch. Okay. So we want to do base. Let's see. I am heavily caffeinated right now. I'm trying to think if there's an optimal way to do this base. I usually run into issues because there's so many blocks. Remember, there's going to be 25 blocks that make up the base. Let's make it an even 6 thick. And we'll adjust it, once we get done. But I want a nice foundation to start with. So the base here, we can do face, image, import. What am I connected to? Close. North. How about the up? Image. Import. Painted worn steel. Apply. Down. Image. Import. Cast iron. Apply. Okay. Again, I don't really have a lot of textures that tile well, and this is going to be a problem. But I think these two will. Maybe. We'll see. Let's save this. Oh my god. Okay. Vintage engineering. Mod. Assets. Vintage. Shapes. Block. Multi-block. Machine. This is going to be Temporal Forge. All right. Now we can base 1-1. And if we copy that, put it in here, 1-2. And I want this one to come down 16. Copy 1-3. Well, this one. Okay. And then one more. There we go. That's 5 there. Now this whole base, we want to just make sure all the origins are right. We want to copy the whole thing to 1, 2, 2. Two, 5. And then we want to take this and we want to move this over to -16. Okay. Now, do it again. Move it to 0. And we're gonna tweak with this in a bit. 3, 1, 3, 2. Copy. Move it to 16. Now, the whole like renaming of these, right? I know it looks tedious, and believe me, it is. But like, for organization's sake, it just like I just highly recommend anybody out there who's doing shapes and stuff. You spend a little bit of time organizing. It saves you a lot of heartache on the back end. It's so tedious, but it helps organize the whole thing, and it's just like you just have to do it. And I'm trying to do this without looking at the keyboard, and it's difficult. Let's see, 5, 4, and 5, 5. There we go. So that gives us our base, right? All the little sparklies in here, I don't know if those are coming through. All those little sparklies are because we haven't disabled all the faces inside. Okay. And again, here's the concept, but we're going to be trying we're going to be sort of customizing it and tweaking it and all of that kind of stuff. So, take that with a grain of salt. But anyway, now, how do we want to subdivide this? Do we want to do it northeast, southwest, or do we want to do it corners? Right? Because I'm thinking of a central chamber, right? Some sort of central chamber design where you have either supports on northeast, southwest, or on the diagonals. Okay? So I wish I could draw. I wish I had a tablet that I could just draw freehand, because I would be able to sketch up freehand something fairly simple, fairly quickly. But imagine there's a central chamber in the middle of this thing, right? We don't even have to imagine it. We can actually do it, if we wanted. Because I could actually build that here. Let's see. Put this face clear cube. This is going to be, I think these are 6 thick. So I need something that's 10 thick. And 6 high. We're going to bring this out minus 16. We want it to be 2 thick or 3. 2 or 3. 3 maybe? 16. This is sitting on top, right, of this base, but I want to keep it within that block space. Right? This is why I have the reference there. This is 6, this is 10, so that's 16. That's the height of the block. Now you could change it, and you could make this 16 and do all the math in your head, but I don't want to do that. Okay. But this is where all those little details can get pulled out, right? We have a block here. So let's finish chamber base 1. Okay. So chamber base. So we want to copy this. We're going to put it into here. And we want to take this and we're going to move it here. Copy it again. Here. And take the whole thing. Copy it. Move it in. Come on. Move it in. And then this one we want there, 45. So I'll take this. Okay. And copy this. We're going to shrink this to 3 and this to 16. 13. 3 out. And then you go down here. Copy it again. We're going to shuffle it here. 16. That should be there. That should be there. Good. Okay, copy this and move it down. My brain is just not cooperating today. And then this one, copy that and move this down. No. All right, there's the base. Right? So now we want, and I'm just kind of, I'm using broad strokes right now. And yes, I could, I could make this an octagon instead. That would be more visually pleasing instead of all squared off. Oh, man, I don't know. Instead of doing that, making it, this is going to be an extremely complex multi-block, by the way. It's going to be very, very, very complex. So we're probably not going to get it all done. No, we're definitely not going to get it all done today. And I have the hiccups for some ungodly reason. So we want this to be 16. This one can be back here. So this would be like the glass, right? So this will be, let's go back 2 more in there, right in the center. Now the glass, we then go up 16. Glass chamber glass 1. And then I want this to be the transparent render pass. This is important. as I've learned, this is important for this object. So we just want to make sure before I copy and paste that this is set. So I'm hoping that when I copy this, it stays that. Okay, so that's good. So then we want to position this down here. We want to make it 16, so it's right on that border. Okay. And then copy it again. So it is 32, but we want to dial it back. Oh. Nope. Wrong one. This is 32. This is dialed back. There we go. Ah. Wait. Why? What? How is that wrong? $14. Because that's in 2. That's right on that border. This 00, 16 wide. This that doesn't make any sense. That is right on that border. Why is that not? Why am I? Oh, it's because, okay. It's because it's predicated off of this one. That's why. These numbers are, are displacements from its parent. And its parent here is already shuffled and it's only 14 thick, right? So this one is only 14. And then, so this one's, so it's too shy of all of those. So we're going to take this and we're going to copy it. And we want to shuffle this down over to here. Okay. And again, these are all transparent, so we're good to go. Let's go to here. What I really should do when I do this is like try to model them so when I copy and paste it also does this face here. That would be nice. So we're going to copy this element and move it down. Come on, move it down. And position is 1, 16, 14. Position is there. Is that right? It is right. Okay. And we're going to have the same sort of thing over here. This is going to be 16, but offset 14. And then another one. This is going to be offset 30, but only be 14. And then I can copy this and move it down to here. Okay. Now, how tall should it be? I'm thinking like maybe 1 block taller for the chamber. So you have a two block tall window to look through, right? Because this is a block tall. So your eye line is going to be right in here. And so we can add another layer of glass, but then have an end cap over it. Because inside of this is going to be, you know, where the things and the stuff happen. So, okay, now let's copy. We don't need chamber base. We don't need this. Okay, chamber glass. So we're gonna. Should we put all of these in the same thing like this? No. What are you doing? I don't even understand what you're doing. There we go. So now I copy it again, and we can shuffle it up like that. Okay. That is the glass for the chamber. So with this seam here, what I'm thinking is the edges, right? The corners is where the sort of support is going to go up to sort of encapsulate it. So it's be like a dome, right? So there are going to be little arms coming off each corner into the base as a sort of like anchor. So yeah. Let's add another. And again, face clear. Top. Let's go up. And we're going to drop it down 2. We're going to go back here. Okay. And then 16. 16. Oh. Yeah. No? Top ridge. And then copy. Copy. I've had so much coffee. Okay. So I'm just sort of let's see. Let's copy this and go up. Aloha. Hello. You never have too much. Oh, you can. It is possible to have too much coffee. There's a kid that died here several years ago because of a company put out. Was it Panera Bread or something? They put out what they called like charged lemonade that had a crazy amount of caffeine in it. And he drank like one of the big 32-ounce things and his heart exploded. Like 17, 18 years old. Maybe he was in college, so like maybe early 20s, but yeah. It is possible. It is actually possible to have too much caffeine. Thanks. Broadsword, thanks for the sub. I had to look at OBS really quick while I did that. Okay, so let's see. What was I doing? 13 minutes. Okay, this. You go position here. You're going to go 16, I believe. Yeah. And then we're going to have another one, and you are going to go 30, 20, wait, 29? Right. Yep, 29. Because these are 3 thick. And right there. There we go. So this top ridge here, we're going to copy this whole thing and shuffle it down. That gives us a nice thing to work with. Now, if y'all love modeling things, I like what I would really love, right, is somebody who is passionate about making models, because we could sit down and talk about an overall style design for all of the machines, because I would actually love one cohesive design, like evolution for all of the machines, right? From the very start all the way into the tiers, like having a cohesive design motif, right? Sort of like all of the buildings in Factorial all have a design motif, right? They all look like they're from the same world, right? A lot of vintage engineering right now is, you know, the early machines were from QP Tech, right? Quentin basically stopped developing QP Tech because the code base was just a nightmare. And so he basically abandoned the mod. And so when I started vintage engineering and I got the code up to where it needed to be for machines, I reached out and said, hey, can I use any of your machines? Like, you stopped working on QP Tech, right? Would it be okay if I, you know, basically kit bashed a lot of your shapes and machines? And he was like, yeah, that's great. Like, and eventually they put out sort of an update for QP Tech that allows you to transfer all the QP Tech machines over to vintage engineering machines to a certain extent. And so a lot of that was because I needed, right, I had all the code. The code was ready to mass add copious amounts of machines. I just didn't have any. I didn't have like the amount of time it would take to sit and model them. I wanted to add machines. I wanted to add lots and lots of machines. I just didn't have the I just didn't have the amount of time just to sit and cobble together machines. Plus, it's like, most of the QP Tech stuff was, generally in a certain design state. But yeah, like what I want is a aesthetic. What I envision for vintage engineering is a very much cobbled together plates that are bolted, like semi rusty, right? Just like barely functional, right? Very like barely holding it together. So all of the machines would have like tubes and, just like steampunk would be like, there's not a lot of steam with the mod. So, but a vintage, like, think about if you do searches for like old machinery, like an old generator from like the 1920s, right? Old anything, like 1920s era machines. You just see them and you're like, wow, that's old. Some of which, by the way, are still being made. There's a fan, a ceiling fan that was developed in like the 1920s. They still make them brand new. The design is so good, and they last for so long. They're so high quality that they still make them. I mean, they're really expensive now. You could order one from, the Sears catalog back in the 20s for, $40. Now they're $900. So like the destination of Vintage Story, like he's going for like a steampunk aesthetic. Vintage engineering is always, the intent of vintage engineering was always to go beyond that. What comes after steampunk, right? What comes after steampunk but before cyberpunk, right? You have, electric punk. I don't know what you would call it, but that's the aesthetic that I was going for. But I would need an actual artist to sketch up ideas, and then once we're on the same page, right? Then you say to that artist, "Hey, whip up, an LV generator in that design and as a concept, right? Whip up the first two machines for this mod, Vintage Engineering, the first two machines, the test machine and the test generator, right, became the metal press and the LV generator. Those are the first two machines in the mod. So I had somebody before remodel them, which is why they look different. But they just kind of did their own thing. They were not interested in working with me. They were just like, blah, here's what I did. And it's like, well, that's great. And the choices they made for textures was just the wrong direction, right? They UV unwrapped everything, and the texture space just got bigger and bigger, and he wasted a huge amount of space. It was not going in the direction that I wanted, and so I was like, hey man, let's pump the brakes on this, and we need to get back to basics. And he was all butthurt because I wasn't kissing his feet because of all the work that he did, and I was just like, I love that work you're doing. It's just we need to use what the game has, and that way we can reuse textures. We can make really good textures, and we can reuse textures. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. The way that he was doing it was extremely wasteful of texture atlas space, and I didn't want to do that. And that was the end of that. Like, he was not. It was very unfortunate, but I mean, I loved a lot of the work they were doing. They just, again, with the modding community, everybody just wants to do their own thing. It's just how modding communities are arranged. Diesel Punk, there you go. Diesel Punk, I mean, that would be MB tier for sure. Diesel Punk. MB tier is all about the diesel. Okay, so we have top cap. We want to go up to 49. Want to go into. We want to come back to there. Okay. Now I have to make sure we're at minus 14, so that there would be 16, the corner. Yeah, I think that's 16, 16. Let's make it a little bit thicker. So this is 3 thick. If we make this 5, 6, yeah, if we make this 5 thick, that would be 8. But doesn't this... Yeah, see, this goes up 46. So this is why I have my reference here. So if we make this position 32, 16, 16, right? You can see where the block square ends, right? So if we want to move this up again, 48, now you can see where that block space is, right? It's not super important to do this, but remember, when this multi-block is formed, each one of these individual block spaces is going to become a dummy block. And so if I want anything special inside of that, right, whether it's a ladder or an IO block or anything like that, that is where that block space becomes very important. Very, very important. Okay, so this, then, we're down 1 here. So this, if we go voxel size, right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that is 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, that's 8 in. Okay. So I can take this reference and just hide it. Okay. So that is now going up to half that next block, which we can then take this and our top cap 2, and we're going to shuffle this over here. We're going to make it 16. Copy it again. No, I didn't want to do that. And shuffle this down. Down is down. And then make it 16. Then take this one and move it in. 16. So this is the very center block. Okay, and then this, we want to copy it again. We're going to position it down. We're going to dial it back. This one, copy again. We're going to shuffle it over and dial it back. And again, shuffle it down. Increase it to 16. And again, 14. And this one, 14. Copy. Top cap, top. And if we make this 8, this is also kind of how I envision like the HV battery. The HV battery is just going to be a giant multi-block. So this is looking very battery-like right now. So we've got to sort of customize a little bit. Okay. So that should be the very top of that block space. It is. Okay. So that we can then do whatever we like. If we want to fancy it, this gives us the overall profile. Now we need the the corner detail. I haven't done any of the textures. I haven't hid any of the faces. All of that is extremely tedious work. Okay. So what we're going to do now is grab one of these. Why is this? Why is that? Why was that name? So yeah, I took some inspiration. Again, I built a design concept. This is the very rough, like, I just was like, what would be a design for a temporal forge? And this is what it gave me. Now, there's aspects of this that I like, and many aspects that I don't. But I just needed a starting spot, right? In my brain, I just needed something to start with. And so that's where I ran with it. Is I'm taking this now, because the main thing I didn't like about this was the fact that this was only viewable from like one side, right? This would make a great isometric, like, Factorio model, right? It's like, hey, this is a thing that you could do in Factorio. That would be good there, but not a voxel game that you can actually like walk around and see all of the sides of. So I didn't like that it was very like one-sided. So this is, you can walk around it and see it everywhere. So what I want to do is bring in supports on the corners, coming in. The gears I would like. It's one of those details that's like, it's hard to incorporate, but I think the gears, what I'm going to do with the gears is I'm going to put them inside the chamber, right? Because this is going to be glass, right? You don't see it now, but the main block here, these are going to be glass. So you're going to be able to see inside. So the mechanism that's going to be inside of this, I want to have just a snaggle mess of gears. And almost like an abstract bendy, like weird thing of gears that when it's active, all of the gears are going to move. And, I'd like to have it glow and shit, but I don't really know how to do that. I, honest to God, like a lot of that fancy visual stuff, people basically specialize in that. So it's very, very hard. It's very hard to do some of that stuff. And it's just, anyway. So let me grab one of these. We're going to move it down here. And let's take this. We're going to voxel size. I want this to be 8 by 8. Okay. Now just bear with me for a second here. I'm going to try some things like, I would like all of the gears inside. When you see it when it's off, it's just going to look like a mess of gears inside. But when a temporal storm happens, remember the rendering effects of a temporal storm, you don't see color. Right? Temporal storms in the game completely change the rendering system, and it gets all warped already, right? So everything is going to look warped during a temporal storm. So the gears inside are going to be all twisted and warped, but having something glow inside would be nice. I just don't know how to do that. Okay, so I want position. We're going to go one more in there, one more back. I think that is good. Okay, so this is going to be chamber corner 1. Minimize. Save. Okay. Let's get this. Yeah, let's start. This is going to be brutal. Okay, so we want this one to be 16. We want this one to be up 10. We want it again. We're going to this is going to be up 20 something, 26. And we want one more. Like that. We're going to shrink this one down. Okay, I'm just in my brain. I'm looking at this. Okay, I'm going to bring this one down. Okay, and we're going to bring it up again. This one is going to be wide and thin. 4, 16. Do another one. This one is going to be over. Oh, I did it again. 16. This one's going to be over. And then it doesn't need to be that thick. Okay. So you might be wondering, what the hell am I doing? Well, what I can do, because these are all predicated off of this one, right? I can move this one and get, because I made this 8 by 8. If I move this and this to the very center of that block, right? That's the origin. What I can do is come down here and go, hi, 45 degrees, baby. Just like that, we have it angled. See how beautiful that is? So beautiful. So beautiful. Okay. So let's move it back because my brain hurts when I think about that. This one, I want to be a little bit thicker. And this one I need to be a little bit longer. Let's just make that a full 16. Okay. Now I'm going to copy this. And we're going to move this one up. There. Yeah, all the faces are all discombobulated, but I just want to make sure we're, yeah, okay. Okay, and then we're going to take this one and copy it again, and we're going to move it over to here. Is it 1 or 2 in? I can't remember. I think it's there. It's hard to see. Yeah, it's hard to see. Where, because that red arrow, you can see it's in that there, but the blue arrow isn't. No, it is. Okay, so the blue, it's inset 1 square on each direction. So this inset there, which means this we need to bring this down. Okay, and then this one we need to bring down. So that's inset there, that's inset there. And then we take this one and we copy it again. And we move it down here. And we do that. Okay. We're going to save it. And then finally come up here and rotate it. And rotate it. Okay. Now I could like put a big gear on the top. I could put a bunch of different gears. It takes a long time to do details like that. Unless I can like import. I could import shapes. I don't know what happens with the textures and stuff with them, so I'm gonna hold off on that for now. Okay. Let me catch up on chat here. The very janky way about it would have 2 shapes. But glowing, like that's a loaded term, right? Glowing gears. What constitutes glowing, right? How do you turn that on and off? I don't know. Like the rendering side of things, particles, fancy rendering techniques, like basically if you have like a lot of mod experience with like Minecraft, like one mod that I absolutely adored way back in the day was Astral Sorcery. Okay. Astral Sorcery had crazy amounts of really fancy effects, right? Really fancy effects, particle systems, glowy bits, all of that stuff. None of it, like I was completely baffled as to how the author did any of it. It's just not my area of knowledge, and so I've always struggled with that stuff. The nitty gritty logic with games and stuff that I can do. Like, you know, crafting systems and those kinds of things that I can do fairly easily. Not easily, but I am more competent at them. Okay. Maybe make it a little bit thicker, like that. But again, like, this is not it's not my area of expertise. Even modeling this stuff, right? Most of my models are very, very basic. They look cool to me, but I know somebody out there who is very gifted. If they understood, right? If they understood the limitations and what I'm trying to do within my limitations, I think they would do a much better job. But there are limitations, right? You do not have carte blanche to make a model that has 20 million polys in it. You cannot do that for this game. It's just not something like this. Triangles right now are 12, almost 1,300, right? Just not bad. But as we start adding more and more detail, that count skyrockets. It absolutely skyrockets. So, yeah. Anyway, so this individual base here, okay, this is going to be 16 thick. Okay. This one is going to be 16 thick. Okay. This I need to be full height, which means I do need this to be up one. Because believe it or not, this is where the power node is going to be. Power node is going to be right on the top. And this is gonna chew through the power like nobody's business. Okay. Now, as far as everything else goes, as far as textures and stuff, I don't know. Like, this is gonna be brutal. Many textures. So this side here. Let's look at the south side first. Image, import. Do we have glass? I don't think we have a glass texture. Ooh, industrial glass. We do have an industrial glass. Apply. Copy, north, paste. North, paste, south, paste. North, paste, south, paste. Paste, south, paste. North, paste, south, paste. North, paste, south, paste. So I have a little bit of wiggle room in here. I could put bars. Could have put some reinforcements. There's a lot of little gubbins that I could do with this. The faces that you see here, those are because I haven't hid. Why do I see a flat plane in there? That's really weird. Why do I see a flat plane in there? It's not actually in here. So why is the rendering effect doing that? Anyway, so what you do, you take east. I gotta stretch this out. East, west, up, down. Now, I keep asking for it. We need a built-in command. And I know they're working on a new version of the model editor. It's still in early. It's still early though, so I'm not. I don't know if I should trust it. Why does this happen? What is going on here? Let's change this back here. And I want to see if this side is doing it as well. It is. Why is that? What is doing that? That has me worried. Now, it could be that this is just the editor not knowing what the hell is going on. I wish either give me a hotkey for this enabled, like give me a hotkey, or like I don't even know if there are any hotkeys. Honest to God, I don't know if there are any hotkeys. Oops, clear, enabled, paste, enabled, down, enabled. There we go. I do not know why it is doing that. It's acting like there's a block in there, but there isn't. There's no block inside of that thing. It's completely empty. Because I can come in here, right, and look up, and there's nothing in here. So that might be an issue with the rendering window here, right? It's trying to render something because it's doing it up here as well. Yeah, it's doing it up here as well. There should not be a plane going all the way across. It's actually up one. So I think I'm hoping, right? That's I'm hoping that's a rendering issue with this editor. Paste, west, paste, north, south, enabled, up, enabled, down, enabled. Paste. Another useful thing for this editor, or even the new one, right? Disable untextured faces have it disabled untextured faces for the current block selected and for the whole project. So I could just in one shot, I don't know what the hell this thing is doing. East, paste, west, paste. I should have done this before I copied and pasted it 7 bazillion times. That would have been smart. Like this, I'm seeing fine. This completely borked. I don't know. I don't know why. It's like you can see through here. That's fine. I wonder if it's per These are all transparent render paths. I don't. It's not per face render pass. It's the whole block. I mean, creature models. Well, creature models are cool. The game needs more variety of enemies. That's for sure. I mean, I get that it has a motif, but being so locked into drifters and like rust based stuff, I think is a big limiting factor to the game. There's no variety of enemies, and I think that being locked into that sort of motif hurts the game in the long run. It definitely limits creativity, I think. Okay, so there's the chamber. I'm hoping that all of the faces, like we've disabled these faces, right? All the faces that it's rendering this sort of light highlight there, those are all disabled. So it shouldn't do that in the game, at least. Okay, now let's figure out what we want to do here. We want the... Let's do this one. So we have the south face. Image. Import. Ooh, it would be cool to do like a copper coil or something around. But that's more like battery than it is anything else. So we definitely want to go for more like worn steel. But unfortunately, this is not a very tileable texture. So if we go over here with it and paste, right, it's going to look really janky. Unless we go like this and then like rotate it. Like that. It's a little bit more cohesive. Up. I want to model large objects, right? I want to make the file. Yeah, it's like you would have to train it a lot. Like give it the model and give it a screenshot of what it looks like. Model, screenshot, right? And that would be training like what the model looks like in text to what it looks like in like visually. And it would have to be trained on hundreds or if not thousands of those. Very, very, very intense amount of work that would take to do that. Is that not? It doesn't really fit the motif, though, does it? Yeah, that's pretty bad. Import. I don't know. This is really like this is not my. Not my area of expertise, and I need to pee really bad. So there's that. We have this another worn steel plate. Yeah, let's just do this. Apply. Up, paste, up, paste, okay. I think the base here will either make reinforced concrete or, I don't know, wood. But it doesn't have to be exactly 5x5, right, block. We can shrink the base a little bit so it's inset slightly. But, yeah. I need to use the bathroom really quick. I'm going to be right back. All right. There's a little lump in the blanket on my bed. An evil lap goblin crawled under there. Okay. I think I'm done with this little concept art. It's funny how polarizing the idea of AI is to people. You know, I look at it as just a tool. It's just the next evolution of tools. It is by far not a replacement of people, right? AIs are not creative, right? You're never you're not I shouldn't say never. You're not going to get a completely new idea concept coming out of AI. It's just not how it works, right? So if you want creativity, you base it off of something. That concept art that I had, that was built from science fiction and like myriad of other sources, but it wasn't inherently original. It's just not how it works. So it's a great tool, but it's not a replacement for people. Not by a long shot. So I use it, like I have a very limited amount of access to it. I'm not, again, a wealthy person, so I've been using it to help tweak. Like it's what it really is good at, what I really like it for. That's kind of hard to get it to do it right because it's still we're even now we're still early days, by the way. We're only 3 years, maybe 4 years into this process, right? The internet has been around for 25 years, 30 years in the mainstream. I mean, the internet was around for 15 years before anybody even heard of it, right? It was around in the early 80s. It was just a bunch of colleges that were connected to one another. It really wasn't in the mainstream yet. So as far as like the evolution of technology, we're still in the extremely early days yet. So we don't really know where it's going, but for me, it's a great tool, and it's phenomenal at ingesting a huge amount of data and massaging that data and spitting it back out again, right? It's like a giant, like, what would be the word?
Blender?
What was that?
A blender?
Yeah,
Like a blender?
yeah, like a blender. Like I can feed it a huge amount of, like, I've been using it to update. I had a bunch of Project Zomboid mods that I had made like last year, and a lot of those mods were built before multiplayer even came out, right? And so I had a script that I had that did a certain thing for me, and it was not multiplayer. And so what I've done is I give it the script and I say I need to make sure that this is multiplayer compatible, and I need to make sure it's up to the current standards. And it still makes mistakes. It's funny, but it's able to ingest that entire script, process it, analyze it for potential pitfalls, and then give me back information that is like, hey, this is now moved, because it has the entire API system and all the documentation for Project Zomboid is now online, right? They have a huge wiki that has just the data. So it's like, but it still makes mistakes. I still have to go in. I still have to tweak it. I still have to fix little things. So it's like, you still have to have the knowledge, and you still have to have the ability. But, it relieves about 80% of just the grind of getting something changed. And I did it for my texture, or my buttons. The thing that saved me the most time is simple jobs. It's simple jobs. So, an example, let's see if I can show this on camera. So something like, let's see. I'm trying to pull up an example screen here. Something like this, okay? See all those buttons? This is my enhanced vehicle. I have touch portal on here, right? So that's my enhanced vehicle buttons. And I know you can't really see those very well, but all of those buttons, right? So what I had a sprite sheet. I had a single texture that had all of those buttons on it, and then an XML file that had all of the button definitions with their coordinates. So I had the texture and an XML file, a single texture with the XML file. Okay. And I'm like, well, I could go through in Photoshop and copy and paste every button position, right? And save it out individually as PNGs, depending on what button was defined, right? And I just wanted to see if it was possible. So I went and I only have like elevated access to Grok. So I went up to Grok and I was like, I first of all, I had to convert the DDS file to a PNG because it didn't like DDS. So I converted it to a PNG. I uploaded the PNG file and I uploaded the XML. And I said, the image or the XML defines the buttons in the image. Please parse, right? Please parse and oh, and I also for another set of buttons, not those, but a different set, I uploaded another a blank, right? A blank texture. And I basically said, please take the icons that are on the icon sheet as defined by the XML and extract each icon and then put it on the blank background image, and then individual icons, and then zip them up and allow me to use them or download them. And it did it. It did it in about 2 minutes. And I did that with 3 different textures, 3 different sprite sheets. And it took me 15 minutes. And that would have taken me, that was dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of icons. That would have taken me 4 hours to do manually. And it did, and then the AI spit that out in 15 minutes. It was beautiful. It was a great example of where they're useful. What they're useful for. It's a tool, right? It's a good tool, but it's not a replacement, and it shouldn't be treated as such. So yeah, it was, for me, it was really, really interesting. Anyway, that was my rant of the day. Okay. Now, face, copy, north, paste, north, paste, north, paste. Okay. Now, these, I might make these concrete. I might shrink them down a little bit and make them concrete, because, I want this to be a substantial project. This needs to be a substantial thing. So it makes sense to me that it would be made of concrete. Okay, so we're going to do this. North paste, south paste. North paste, south paste. Rotate. Rotate. North paste, south paste. And then up, paste, up, paste, up, paste. This is going to be west and east and up. East, west, up, up, west. East is going to be disabled. Same with this. This is going to be west, paste, up, paste, east, paste, west, paste, up, paste, east, paste, east, paste, up, paste, rotate, east, rotate. don't think there's a way. I don't think there's a way to get that. Yeah, I don't think there's a way to get that to that corner, but whatever. Huh. That worked. What? Weird. And then this one, west, is going to be disabled. Okay. So let's look at it from the north again. So this, we need... this is going to be the west face image. Import. Up. Image. Import. This is going to be north paste, south paste, east disabled. North paste, south paste, up paste, west disabled, east import, apply. Then this up image import. Apply. North image import. Copy. East paste. South paste. West paste. Slowly coming together. So with these, what I want to do is shrink these down. So voxel size here, this is going to be a little tricky because when we shrink this, right, it's going to shrink it from the other side. So if we want to take this and say this is going to be instead 8, then we need to move it in 8. Okay. So this is the same thing. We want this to be 8. This needs to be, oh, yeah, see, and then that's a problem. This, we want to bring this back out here. This, let's take this to 8 and this one to 8. And then this in, and this needs to come out like that. Right? And then this, well, this is going to get really nasty. We need to make this 8 this direction, which means this comes in 8, which means all of these come back. Okay. And I'm going to change the texture on the top of these. I don't want it to be that blue steel. I just did that just to make it stand out. Now we could square this off. The problem with a lot of like angles like this, you have to do it right. Otherwise, you get Z fighting. So if I just rotate this and I don't edit the thickness, you're going to get some really bad Z fighting going in there. And if you want to change that, well, you have to change the thickness of the thing so the faces don't fight one another. But that can be, that can be its own little personal disaster. We want to move this back. Then this back. This back. And this back. And shrink it. So yeah, I could angle that, but I would have to like shrink it down so the corner would be a little bit lower, and it just wouldn't look very good. But what I can do is I can add a detail, right? I could do a little trim around the outside and have that be angled in some way. It just is what it is. 8. Wait. Yeah. What am I doing? This 8. And last one. And then this one. Okay. Now, do this face up, image, import, and I want this to be reinforced concrete. Okay. Copy, paste, paste. And the inside of this will likely change. I just want to kind of get a cohesive design here. The north, Didn't I change the corner already? I thought I changed the corner. Could have sworn I changed one of these. There we go. This face might be hidden depending on if I put I don't know. I could do a little wood trim around, like a treated wood trim or something like that. So these blocks here. Import. I mean, that could look interesting, like visually interesting. If we copy that, we paste that. If that's north, east, south, and west. I mean, you could like even go so far as to do that. I don't. It doesn't look as good as I thought it was going to. So let's delete unused textures. Delete unused textures is nice because it removes any textures you're not using, which is really handy. So import like gray concrete internal. Copy, paste, paste, paste. Paste. Not sure why that's paste. I wanted it to stick out a little bit. And again, like, y'all have different ideas about how this all works. If you have inspiration and you want to build off of this, you want to tinker with the shape just to see what other things can be done, I welcome your pull request. I had a 50-50 shot. Clearing the right one there. So that's that. If we want to get rid of all of the little sparklies that happen when we're rotating, you have to take out all of the faces that are not textured. And again, the disable untextured faces would be such a handy thing. But yeah. I mean, it needs to look very substantial, right? It needs to be So even going so far as to saying these probably need to be the same thing. East we can disable and west we can disable. North, paste. Well, do we need north? We might not need it, but I think we might. On up, and we need down, but east and west we don't. We'll get one of these signs done and see how we like it. If I just shift paste all of that and go up, clear enabled, down, clear enabled, that'll help. Shift paste up. East, west, clear, enabled, down, clear, enabled. I mean, it doesn't. What I really don't want is for it to look futuristic, right? Cyberpunk futuristic. I really don't want that. So if it looks janky and beefier than it needs to, then that's it's better than it looking futuristic, because I really don't want it looking futuristic. And yes, you have to disable the faces, because they're null textures, and you don't want them rendering, right? If you leave that face, like if this face on this side, right, that's the west face. If I left that textured, like if I textured that and didn't disable it, when the rendering happens, right, if it's rendering the shape, it will render that face. It will draw that face and then draw the face over top of it, right? Because it's drawing it. So it's calculating what color that pixel needs to be while it's seeing all of those textures. So there's a whole bunch of calculations. If I disable the face, it doesn't even, there's not even a thing there to render, so it just ignores it. And that's one of those savings is, you can have an optimal shape and you can have extremely wasteful shapes. If you have very wasteful shapes, you're going to cripple people's rendering. It's just going to be bad. So you want to optimize your shapes as much as possible. No, yeah. One more leg. Yeah, 90% of the work on a shape is this. This is like 90%. It's easy throwing the shape together. Getting it looking good with textures, and optimal, like optimized, is just such a huge amount of work. It just takes so much time. Okay. And north is always for every single one of my machines, north is the default rotation, right? All my machines are built facing north and then rotated depending on how you place them. So the top of this, I don't even know. Let's see. Image. Import. Why can't you go 16? Thank you. Is that too much gray? Or too much dark gray, I should say. Steel sheet metal. Oh, yeah, that's not going to work. Hmm. Didn't know those. I didn't know those stuck through the bottom here. Here we go. What I need is a version of this sheet metal that doesn't have the rivets in it.
Because then I could do it here. I could just have the rivets in the center where you have the full block. And then the corners would be non-riveted. Right, so you take this and you would pull it back to like here. No, it has to be there, I think. And then like that. And then west 2.50127. Like that. Um, oh, west. The other thing I wish is if I like a special hotkey that when I click copy, right, that it actually copies this as well. It copies the texture, but it also copies the UV, right? Just like shift copy or control copy or something like that. Would be very, very handy. So north, paste, east, paste. 2.5, 12, 7. 2.5, 12, 7. So then we need the up copy. So 2.5, 12, 13.5. 0.5, 12, 13.5. Up, paste, down, paste. 2.5, 12, 13.5. 2.5. 2.5, 12, 13.5. West. Now I can disable unused. Down. I need a copy. 21616. Up, paste, down, paste. Up, paste, down, up, paste, down. This I see a spider crawling down the corner of my. It's literally the only place in my goddamn apartment I can't reach. Behind my desk, there's the corner, and I can't. It's too far away. I can't reach it. There's a spooter crawling down. Ah, okay. Oh yeah, this down paste. Thank you. I don't know if it's gonna look good. Do that. Okay. And then this is just plain old. Okay. So this is the west. East. North. It's really hard to get in here and see. Up is rotated. I need to rotate this. And this. Okay. Forgot to apply the rest of these. Let's see. Up, paste, down, paste, west, paste, east, paste. There could be so many quality of life things you do with this editor or the next editor that they make, because it's, the next editor is being made at this moment. I'm pretty sure Tyrone hired somebody specifically to work on it. But they're building it. They're basing it off of Unity, the Unity engine. Which I'm on the fence about why they would do that. I mean, I like it better than this because this is based in Java. So, the more you get away from Java, the better, in my opinion. Well, that is the majority of it there. No, I think there's a face in here that we're... Oh, my God. Yeah. Let's do this one. North, enabled, east. Up. Yeah, all of these. Oh, there's actually a square... Wait, why am I seeing... Oh. I didn't do this properly. So let's get this. I know this is riveting, but if you want an idea of how long it takes to do anything, this is a good example, right? It's a pretty simple basic thing, and yeah, it's very time consuming. Doing anything to any level. But again, I haven't even done any of the stuff inside, right? That's a completely different nightmare. But now that we have like the shell, now we can figure out like all of the gubbins that go inside. And again, this is very basic. You could have a pad, you could have the crafter over one side, you could have a bunch of like capacitors on one side that like, I don't know, like there's a ton of little ideas that you could have. You sketch them out where you have much bigger, like this could be a massive structure that you have to build. You could have gears all over, like I don't know. I just need something in the game so I can code it. And then once it's coded, right? Once it's programmed, then I can like figure out what to do. But until then, I need something in the game. So we want to come up here, and I want to take, and we're gonna make another cube here. Let's minimize. I don't know why these auto expand. Why does every one of these auto expand when I add a cube? I don't understand that. Okay, so face clear. This is my north, so I want to get this guy. Right? If I want a little bit of of a ridge going around the outside of this, just as an accent piece. Let's take all of these. Well, yeah, I'm going to have to go through literally all 25 blocks on the base and disable literally all of the faces. Like it's going to be a whole thing. Base ridge 1. Okay, so if we then copy that, move it up, voxel size position, we're going to go down 2. We're going to make it 16 thick. Okay. Copy it again. Down. Copy it again. Take this one, copy it. No. Take it again. I don't want to copy the first one because it's literally the entire thing, right? If I copied this one, it would copy the whole enchilada, and I don't want to do that. Okay. So before we copy the whole thing, let's texture the damn thing. Right? So here's an example of the Z fighting. That's what I mean by Z fighting. It's ugly, it's icky, I don't like it. It's really nasty. So the way to manage that is if we knock it down vertically. Let's do the whole thing, right? Knock it down vertically. Down vertically. So it's going to literally go down 0.1 voxel, which is like a pixel. Like it's very, very subtle. But you could even go even further down, right? You could go like minus 0.01 and it still fixes it. It's a very, very subtle change. I want to do like 0.05 just in case, right? Just to ensure that's good to go. So do we want this to be super duper tall, or do we want this to be maybe 6.2, right? So we go down, up 2, down, up 2, down, up 2, down, up 2, down, up 2. There we go. So now we've got this. So we need to texture it. So let's find, this would be the west face. Image, import. What kind of ridge do we want around this thing? I'm thinking like a treated wood accent going around. Something like this. Oh my god. I hear cat puke sounds. She just got done eating. Yeah, she just got done eating. I could hear her eating, crunching and munching, and then within 10 seconds she's she's throwing up. Like, what is it with cats and vomiting? Like, what is it? Like, why? Evolutionarily speaking, like, it's not a good thing. Okay. I don't really know if that is the right call. My usual. This is the usual one I use. So the corners, I could even make the corners stand out even more by going. Let's go back. Oh man, this is the problem with having not. We need items in here that are not shapes. I need to add a base transform that's not a shape, but it's just a parent of all of the transforms. Right? So what I want to do is I want to extend the voxel size like 0.5, 0.5, but I need to bring it back 0.5, 0.5, right? But I want to do all that without moving all of these other ones. It's really hard to do. So let's move this 0.5 and then 0.5, 5.5. 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. We're going to move this down 0.5, but this is going to be 0.5 as well. And then this actually needs to be 0.5 in that direction as well. Like that. Can I do an 8? What does 8 look like? No, it's got to be 7.5. I need that black. I need that nice dark line up above. It's unfortunate. Zero, 7.5, 16, 16. 0, 7.5, 16. Well, 8. How big is this? This is 7. So this needs to be 7. Because this is 16 wide. And so the face is 16 wide. This is 7 wide, so it needs to be 7 wide. Okay. Same with this. West paste 7.5, 7, 16. Paste 7.5, 16, 16. Now, the up face. No. If I apply it to this as well, and I throw it 90 degrees, and I actually bring it down here, copy 3, 16, 16.5. So 3, 7, 16, 6.5. Paste 3, 7. Wait, 16.5? That's not right. 16, 6.5. No, god damn it. Then rotate. It's not horrible. I mean, it's not artistic, but it's not ugly horrible. Jesus. Really? Fucking Java. 3, 7, 6.5. I'm trying to get this all textured. That way when I copy and paste it, it's like super easy. It's just like very, very simple. So the east face here image doesn't need to be anything fancy. You barely are going to see it, so we can use that. So copy this east, paste, paste, paste. Then north, enabled, south, enabled, down. Ooh, down needs to have a texture. So let's do north, enabled, south, enabled. Okay. And then the down, I'm just going to take this, copy, down, paste. Okay. Now for the end caps. I'm just going to see what this looks like. Should they be lighter, darker? What does everybody think? I need feedback.
Is that the in-outs?
No, the end caps here. These end caps, right? It's just a little detail, along the side, but these little end caps sort of.
Probably a little darker. It stands out a bit more
I mean, it's okay.
compared to the texture next to it.
Image. I think I have a darker gray. Yeah. Apply. Copy. Paste. Paste. There we go. That matches the inside a bit more. Yeah, I like that.
I'd say it's a pretty minor thing, but a little bit.
It's minor, but every little detail, man. People notice that shit all the time. Like all the little details. If there's a little face somewhere, a little triangle that's Z fighting, I'll get a report. I'll get just like that dude. I don't know if you watched that video. That person posted. They're like, "Hey, there's a bug with the tank. It's dropping some of its fluid." And I'm like, when you break the tank, it's actually dropping portions. And I'm like, what? And the video he shows, he's literally like placing the tank and breaking, and he's doing it super fast, right? Placing, breaking, and he's like doing it over and over and over again. And once in a while, for some reason, it would drop some. I think he had honey in it. It would put some honey into his inventory, like it dropped honey.
Yeah.
But he was placing and breaking it over and over and over again, really, really fast, right? Just over and over and over again. And I'm like, if you actively try to break something, you will break it.
Yeah.
The fact that you're placing and breaking this tank dozens of times within 10 seconds, really fast, like, you're going to break it. Like, what are you doing? That's not like, I cannot code around people being idiots. Like, how do you code around somebody doing that, right? How do you code around somebody placing and breaking a block so many times, so fast, the actual game breaks? That's what's happening. The actual game is breaking. I cannot fix that. If you actively try to break something, you will break it. The fact that it was dropping portions meant that the base game, it was skipping the call to my block, and it was actually dropping portions of fluid. That's a base game doing that. My tank doesn't do that when you break it, right? When you break the tank, it drops the tank that has stuff in it, right? The tank keeps its inventory. But I have to shuffle data around because an item, when a block breaks and it becomes an item, that item stores the data differently than the block, right? It's no longer a block entity that has an inventory, right? So how do you store data in an item it's not a block entity? Well, I have to encode that with attributes. There's a whole lot of shit that happens behind the scenes, right, in order to have that work. It's not a simple process. So if you actively try to break it, you will break it. I'm just putting that. If you actively try to break the mod, you will find ways to break the mod. I can't code around every possible contingency. It's just not possible. So it's just, I saw that and I was just like, dude, like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, your mod broke. And it's like, Well, yeah, you broke it. That's just, okay, so what I want to do something cheeky here. Because we have all of these done already, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these. Oh, man. Okay, do this, do this, do this, this, and the ridge is fine. Okay, so we have the ridge. Wait, what just happened? Ridge, right, which is the corner. These are the corners. Okay. And then the ridge is this. So this one I'm going to copy and I'm going to shuffle it down. Okay. I think that's more or less where it needs to be. Maybe. That seems to be not right. Two point five. Okay. And I think I had this. Trying to remember. 25.5. 39. I think. Because it's basically one voxel in there. Okay. So then what I can do is I can take the second ridge and we are going to move the origin in one. So it's smack in the middle, right? We're going to copy it. We're going to reposition so that origin is right where it needs to be, there and there. And then we are going to rotate it. Okay. We'll fix that later. We'll fix that in post, as they say in Hollywood. Because then I want to copy it again, and we are going to put that there. What are you doing? Why are you rotated badly? Yeah, why are you rotated like that? It's weird. The origin was in the middle. I honest to God don't know what. Don't know what happened there. That's very, very bizarre. Okay, so let's fix this. 16 there. $14. Let's go 15 and then back one. And then 15. And then face. Here we want 15. And then top. Oop. Top. We're going to have to do that. And that. Okay. So this whole thing then we want to copy, and we're going to move it like that. Normally I don't like doing that, but that saved me about an hour and a half of work. Okay, that's the gist of it. Now there's all the gubbins inside of it, of course. But the other big task, and it's a nasty one, is the faces here. I have to go through. So let's just chat a little bit about, things. Like, somebody give me something like to chat about, because this is like, I can turn my brain off and do this. It's literally click, 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 down the line.
Well, there was an eclipse today.
Oh, that's right, up in Iceland.
Yeah.
Did they get some good footage of it?
Yeah, I popped onto a stream for a bit and was watching some of it.
It's funny, the last major eclipse that it went through Texas and like up the eastern seaboard, and somebody mapped. They looked at the Google Analytics, and they looked up search terms including like eyes hurt, my eyes are sore, and they mapped the Google searches, and it was all along the eastern seaboard. People, even though everywhere was like, do not look at the eclipse without like protection on your eyes, and it was still like the number one search term in the eastern seaboard in that time frame was like, my eyes hurt. And it's like I saw that, I was like, man, how have human beings survived? Like, how have we actually survived?
Faith in humanity.
Oh
lost.
my god, it's so funny. It was just so funny. Okay, so this and then this.
I guess as far as other things go to talk about, I don't know. Your exploration with PZ mods.
Yeah, Project Zomboid they've changed, like they completely changed the translation file format. So instead of just text files, they're now JSON files. So the translation, so like what it did is completely break any mods before, I think it was 42. I don't know when they did the translation file change, but it literally it voided every mod before that because none of the strings would be translated. So they just completely changed the format. And it's like whoever's in charge of that project, what they need to sit down and do is like, all right, let's map out all the changes we want to make to the back end data, which they need to do a lot. They need to change a lot. The back end data formats are just there's just all discombobulated. So they need to fundamentally overhaul all of that. And I think they should do it all at once. Because if they do it incrementally, they're going to repeatedly break every mod in existence, right? So let's say they change the format of items. They actually change how items are defined to be more sane and rational, because the way that they're defined now is just utterly nightmarish. Right? If they do that, then that's going to break every mod, because every mod is going to have to go in and redo how all of the items are specified. And then they're going to have to go in and go, okay, well, how are we defining recipes? Well, recipes are going to have to be redefined. Well, if they do that at a later date, that's going to break all the mods again. So it's like, get all of your changes to the back-end data format. Get them all done at once. Every one of them. Every file in the back-end needs to be overhauled. I'm really glad they changed at least the translations to JSON, to properly formatted JSON. Why they didn't do that to every other file, I don't know. Because they could have easily done that, right, to the other files. Believe it or not, right, the files, the item definition file, is in the scripts directory, and it's a text file. It's not a script, it's a text file. So it's like the backend data-driven system of Project Zomboid, it was like it was cobbled together by people who didn't understand rational thought or something. I just can't. When I dig into it, I'm like, what the hell are they doing? This is the most bizarre way of doing any of this stuff. So yeah, if I was in charge of that project, I would sit down with the team from all of the different departments and say, okay, what do we need to do to redefine the back-end data and do it once? We need a file format, right, that's extensible, that we have major libraries like JSON, XML, stuff like that. And then that's extensible and extendable without redefining the format, right? A JSON can do that. XML can do that, right? A good example of an XML-based system is Farming Sim. So Farming Simulator, everything is defined in XML. And you can add features to things just with XML tags and then have code that look for those tags. So a specific implement, right, will have tags that other implements don't, right? A cultivator will have tags that a seeder does not. And so you will have code that looks for those tags, and if those tags exist, then it can apply that specialization or that functionality to that implement. You can do the same thing in Project Zomboid, right? It's basically similar to an entity component system, where you build the definition of what the object does by the data that it has in it. And that fundamentally is what Project Zomboid needs. I don't know if the dev team is going in that direction. I get the sense they want to, but I also get the sense that they're going to do it while breaking every mod, every version. And so it's like they could do it all at once, like build 43 breaks every mod, right? Just out of hand. Build 43, whenever that comes out, they're going to come. What I would do, right, is say build 43 is going to break every mod, but it should only do it once. Right? We're going to redefine how the backend data system works. That's how you do that. Is you overhaul the backend and you build a component system, right? ECS system in Project Zomboid. And that's how I would handle it. I would go into it and say, all right, build 42 just went stable. We're going to have a branch of the code base that we can fix bugs with that, but we are going to completely rebuild the back-end data system as well as this Java code because it desperately needs it. And with the modern tools, you can do that pretty fast these days. You can completely rebuild an API system very quickly these days. Feed it a source object, right? An items class, and say, I need this items class to instead implement, an ECS system. And you can literally build an API very, very quickly, at least prototype it, and then get your coders hands on keyboard to polish, optimize, and streamline it. But as far as prototyping and getting the concept out and getting the file formats done is so desperately needed. I just wish that they would have hired me. I was I applied for the job. Like I literally applied for the job and nope, not interested. And I'm like, okay, well, because I can close my eyes and I can just see it in my head. I can just see and organize it, all the data. With my experience with Vintage Story and how phenomenally optimized the back end is of Vintage Story, I can just envision how it works, and it just makes sense to me. And so it's just frustrating not being able to optimize that. But we can get it. Like I can show a little bit of the tail end here of some Project Zomboid modding. I know there's almost nobody in here, but the shape as it is now, right? It's not done because there's all the internal gubbins, but that's going to be. I'm going to have to sit and just it's going to take a minute to figure all that out. I put some gears and some stuff in there. I don't know. But it's a blank slate if somebody wants to, once I get this uploaded. Ooh, we have a texture glitch up here. If somebody wants to tinker with it and just sort of fill it with stuff, you can turn voxels and stuff on and off. Right? Let's minimize all of these again. Right, so I can go like this. And I can go top cap, top ridge, top cap, top. And I can do corner, 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 corner. And there we go. Right? Now I have free access inside. And I can do all sorts of gubbins in here. You just got to remember, turn them back on when you're done. But anyway, so that's the gist of the shape. The internals, I really want to. I don't know why that's happening in there. Why that? Like I see it from the top, but not the bottom. I don't understand. And if I go in here, it disappears. Right? It's just through the glass. It's just through the glass. So, again, I don't know. But if we look at Project Zomboid here, some of my custom mods, like I've got a lot of custom mods. Those are all the custom mods that I tinkered with. So I've got Working Cooler done. That's been uploaded. Use Multiplier is done. That's been uploaded. Legendary Katana is done. This is my custom version of this mod. Heavily tweaked and tuned. The katanas for this mod, they are crowd control extraordinaire. Like you can kill hundreds of zombies really fast with these swords. My enjoyment of Project Zomboid is some of the survival and some of the like risk, right? You're in a building, it's dark, it's stormy, there's a mood, and you open a door and there's a zombie, right? I have had so many crazy scare moments in projects. That's what I enjoy. The whole crowd control kind of thing, I also like massacring zombies, right? That's why I play the game. The tedious nature of zombie killing in Project Zomboid, the fact that you have to beat a zombie over the head with a baseball bat over and over and over again to take them out, I don't like at all, right? I don't like that they're so goddamn durable. It's like, no, you would something that's rotting and dead, you would hit and it would pop like a fucking pumpkin. Like it would not take much to obliterate, dead things. And so this katana mod, they are a nightmare to make. Like you have to, but once you get one or loot one, oh shit, it's over. So this was also done. I literally went up to the mod again and I downloaded. This is the original mod here. It had this icon, but the author, I don't know, he redid it for some reason. And so I downloaded. Well, he got rid of the epic. He got rid of the epic and the rare. So no longer is there epic and rare. It's just the legendary. But he also added the wakizashi, right? So wakizashi here is just like a smaller ceremonial sword. It's like a smaller version of the katana. Anyway, so faster actions also is redone, and I believe I uploaded it. Yeah, I redid it. I put together a Photoshop. I've got the Photoshop file here from the poster. I just took some text and put some icons on it. It's not an AI generated icon. But the big bad monster, I think Negan's bat here. I think, yeah, I've done this one as well. But Lua shared translate, yeah. These are the new translations. So I don't know if the original author of this mod, if they've updated it, but this bat is like, it's an earlier game version of the katana. It is really good. So I haven't tested, like, I've just been updating these so they load in the game without triggering errors. That's the first hurdle. The second hurdle is making sure they work. The working cooler I did test. So it looks like it's functional. Obviously, it needs to be tested in multiplayer. I think Austin and I can do that later this week, maybe tomorrow. If he has some time, we can test. But working cooler is uploaded. It is literally on the mod hub, right? It's on Steam, so it's ready to go. The use multiplier, I just updated this one. This now has sandbox options. But what this does, this has a crazy big Lua script. This goes through and literally updates all of the things. So we go through Lua shared. That should tweak item. Where is that? Where is that script at? Lua shared. Translate. I'm missing item.doParam. Yeah. I get the sense that I'm missing something from this. No, this is okay. I'm thinking of a different mod. That's why I'm like, something is missing. So use multiplier takes like a lighter or matches or medication, and it multiplies the number of uses you get out of that. And it's all driven via sandbox options, right? So you can if you make it 1, then there's no change. You can make it as overpowered as you want. The one I'm thinking of is faster actions. This is the one I just did last night. This one makes, again, I enabled sandbox options with it, where you can change the actions to do stuff, right? Repair clothing, build, dismantle, and you can make them faster. And again, it is now driven by sandbox options, which you can make as fast or as slow as you want. So anyway, that is one. So the last one that I really want to get done is this one. This one is Rain's firearms and gun parts. Okay. But with my tweaks. Okay. And my tweaks are many. And the way that guns, like I have custom explosives in here. I have a lot of stuff. So I take all of Rain's stuff, and I rebalance most of it, right? I make silencers more effective. I make guns actually do more damage, because a gun should one-shot a zombie. If you get a headshot, it should one-shot a zombie. Well, headshots in Project Zomboid are very difficult, because you don't control where you're aiming. You're aiming in the general direction. How do you know it's a headshot? Like, that's the thing. So guns in general, the ones I have, generally do more damage. But I also have miniguns, 50 cals, and custom explosives that do not start fires, right? So if we look at this, so this is how items are defined. Item, blah, all of these things. And it's in the scripts directory, and it's a text file. So it's very hard to have words. It's very hard to have like syntax highlighting when you have something like this. It's just a text file. How do you syntax highlight just a text file? It's not even a custom format. Why can't they just make like .item or .pz item, or like invent your own file, right? .pz item, .pz recipe, right? What like let's actually do a professional job here. But the other thing is, like, this tag changed, right? Instead of type weapon, now it's item type base : weapon, right? They've changed this, which, if you might guess, broke every single mod. By changing this one thing in this one file format, you break every mod, because this is how everything is defined, right? So this, if I open up one of the ones that I have already tweaked, like the bat here, if we look at Lua, or no, scripts, and we look at items, right? Item type, base weapon. So you see that difference. Item type, base weapon, type weapon. That one change literally broke every single mod. Every mod. So that is the kind of shit that I hate when devs do it. I hate when they do shit like that, because this whole format, this whole file system should have changed. Right? They should have if they're going to break every mod, literally break every mod, why not do it all in one shot? Why not do it all in one and say, okay, we're going to break every mod and we're going to do it, and here's the new format. It's a JSON, it's very cut and dry, right? Or make it Lua, or make it something, right? Here's a custom format or a custom extension, and here's a syntax highlighting, blah, blah, like, do it in a professional way, but when you break every mod, make it worthwhile, is what I'm saying. Make it worthwhile, because any mod author out there, and there are tens of thousands of mods for Project Zomboid, every mod is now broken for previous versions. Well, not every mod is going to get updated. So now we have this constant churn of mods that become outdated because of this shit, right? And then that churn eventually turns into people essentially copying, just like what I'm doing. And I don't know if this mod was updated. Like, I haven't looked at it, but I've already customized it to be really, really good. So those customizations, I needed to have it customized anyway, but this kind of change is just frustrating. Because it's like, if you're gonna break every single mod in your game and your modding community, you're gonna piss your modding community off. Why not make it worth the effort? Why not say, okay, we're gonna completely change all of this? It's just as frustrating. And so now I have to go through my firearms and gun parts, right? All of the other values I think are relatively okay. But there is, unfortunately, some freaking scripts with this. Not that. Up here. Yeah. Right? There's a ton of scripts with this mod, and it's like, do I really want to go through this? Right? A lot of these client server things, I don't 100% know. Like, there's so many things to update with this. I don't know if I have the desire. It's gonna be hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of work to try to update all of this, because there's so much to update, and they broke so many things. And that's not to say that when 42.21 comes out, they're not going to do the same thing and break every mod, right? And that's the frustration I have. Foundational frustration I have with Project Zomboid is they do not care that their whole community is just, they're driving people away. And the modders that spend hours and hours and hours building these mods, I mean, it takes a huge amount of work, modeling, texturing, all of this, to add a mod to a game, and the devs just be like, well, here's an update that breaks all of that work, right? We're just going to throw all that work away, and you're going to have to redo it. That's thumbing your nose at mod devs. And I'm like, why are you doing that as a studio? You should be embracing the modding community, working with them, and saying, how can we make your lives better? Because you're literally adding content to this game that's keeping people coming back. There's tons of really good mods for the game. Tons of them. most of them are outdated because they've broken them. It's very hard to get motivated to mod a game that you know 1 or 2 versions from now that mod is going to be useless. It's going to be completely unusable. It's very hard to put in the work to do it because look at all these items. If I look up Rain's workshop, Project Zomboid. Rain's I don't there it is. Rain's firearms and gun parts. Updated August 12th, which is good. Posted July 29th. Okay. He just posted this. I must have, you know what I did? I took it, how did he only post this July 29th? It must be he added somebody to his project. He must have added another author to keep it up. Believe it or not, these like weapons mods are incredibly complex. But yeah, this that's one of the reasons I like this mod is like, holy shit, look at all of that. So what I do is I take this and I've added the 50 cal minigun and custom explosives on top of that, as well as a rebalance of all of the things, right? So I can subscribe to this. This is I'll show you what my process is here. So I'll subscribe to this. The number on this, 8287. All right. So then I go here and I say, okay. And I'm not trying to diminish or minimize the amount of work it took to make this mod, but in order to save myself some time and headache, this is just how I do it. So I open the workshop, 8287, probably right here. Mods. Why do we have an expanded? What is this? Expanded. Firearms again are somewhat lore friendly. Okay. So the expanded version might be what I want to go with. Let's see. Properties. 662 files. The base 588. Okay. So the expanded has all of the things. Okay. Common media. So what I do is I take the folder, the expanded, I copy it. Let's see. How do I want to do this? What I'm going to do, take this, and I'm going to rename this to 42.8, whatever. Now, the rest of this, common is going to have... Interesting. He's got all of the... He's got a ton of stuff in common. And then... recorded media... definitions. So like his shared script here Okay, so we get a server. Client. Interesting, his client. Interesting that the clients control how effective suppressors are. It's not the server. I wonder if that's a problem. Yeah. So if I wanted a custom version of this, I am going to yeah, here's the old. Let's compare. Okay. And the expanded. That's a big difference. That's so many different firearms. Whether it's worth it or not, I don't know. I'm on the fence about that, but it is what it is. Why do I have this script in here? Okay. So what I want to do is, let's just do old. Put this in here. And this in here. Okay. So this we want version min equals 42.20. This is version of the game, right? Range firearms, gun parts. And I usually want to add a little Duvalaki there. Just to indicate, if I'm looking in the mod list, it's just easy for me to at a glance be like, oh, this is the one, this is the one I customized. So now it's like, okay, well, there's a huge amount of stuff that has to get done, right? We go into 42 media scripts. Okay. 42 media scripts. So here's all of the definitions of everything. So you can see item type now, base literature. So you can see they've updated all of those tags, which is a nightmare. But now I've got my own. I need to add. See the grenade. Oh, that's the sound. Yeah, okay. So yeah, there's a ton of work that I have to do here. It's going to take me hours. because there's a lot to unpack. What's with this rifles text file? 22355676239 rifles. What? Like 223556762. Like, is that just okay? That's funny. That's all the different. It's all the different calibers. There's a 308. This one has 7.62 as well, and 51. Does that mean there's 51 rifles in it? Like, I don't know. And then 7.62, 30-06. Yeah, all of these. So much to do, but you know, starting from the point where the actual conversions are done, then it's just going in and adding those things that I needed to add, and then adding or tweaking the actual guns themselves to do more damage. But yeah, there's a bunch of stuff, but I'm not going to do that on stream. That's going to be just really mind-numbingly tedious work. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for coming by today. Anybody who chatted and all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, I just saw Mirzak's question. How do you rate Vintage Stories backend and modability? It's the backend and modability of Vintage Story is the gold standard. It's 10 out of 10. I mean, it is the gold standard for Vintage Story. It's what I now compare every other game to. It's so good. So yeah, Vintage Story is the gold standard, and then everything else is like, what is that? How does it compare? And I think every game should strive for Vintage Stories modability and standards, but that's just me. So anyway, I want to thank everybody for coming by. Pretty sure we'll be streaming, at least hopefully, some Project Zomboid this Saturday. So if everything works out, at the very least, I can do some single player if we have trouble getting multiplayer, but I'm pretty sure multiplayer is functional. But anyway, thank you all for coming by, and I'll see you on Saturday.